The sun hung low over the alien landscape, casting long shadows on the strange purple grass below. The sky shimmered in shades of pink and gold, a sight unlike anything the human world had ever known. It was a peaceful planet, far from Earth, with floating cities that seemed to glide effortlessly above the ground, held up by unknown technology. Liam, a human explorer, had been sent on a diplomatic mission to the alien world of Tyran. His task was simple: gather information about their culture, offer help where needed, and establish a peaceful relationship between his people and the inhabitants of Tyran. Little did he know, the trip would lead to an encounter that would change everything. Liam had spent most of his days meeting with high-ranking officials, negotiating terms and trying to understand the complexities of their society. But on the third day of his visit, something unexpected happened. He found himself walking through the bustling city streets, away from the formal meetings, when he stumbled upon a quiet garden hidden between towering glass buildings. It was a place of serenity, filled with exotic flowers and trees that seemed to hum with life. It was there that he first saw her. She was standing by a small pond, her reflection rippling in the water. The alien woman was unlike anyone Liam had ever seen. She had pale, silvery skin that shimmered under the soft light, and her long, dark hair cascaded like a waterfall down her back. Her eyes were the most striking feature, large and golden. With an almost otherworldly glow, they were filled with a depth that Liam couldn't quite understand, a mix of sadness and wisdom. For a moment, Liam hesitated, unsure whether to approach her. His training as a diplomat told him to stay composed, to keep his distance and remain professional. But something about her presence felt magnetic, drawing him in despite his better judgment. "Excuse me," Liam said, his voice a little uncertain. He cleared his throat and took a step forward. "I didn't mean to interrupt." The woman turned, her eyes locking with his. A small smile played at the corners of her lips, though it didn't reach her eyes. "We're not interrupting," she replied, her voice melodic with a soft accent that Liam struggled to place. "It is rare for someone to wander here. Most of your kind stay in the city." Liam smiled, feeling a little more at ease. "Not most people, I guess. I was just looking for a quiet place to think." She nodded, as if she understood more than he said. "This is a place for thinking, for understanding," she said, her gaze drifting back to the pond, "for connecting." Liam followed her gaze, his eyes scanning the water. The reflection of the sky and the trees seemed to dance with the gentle ripples, making it feel like the world itself was alive in this moment. "I've been told Tyran is full of wisdom," Liam said, trying to start a conversation. "I'm here to learn as much as I can." The alien woman looked at him again, her expression unreadable. "Wisdom comes from experience," she said slowly, her words carefully chosen. "But experience comes from knowing pain, from understanding loss." Liam was taken aback. "You've experienced loss?" he asked, his voice softening. He had heard hints of the struggles the people of Tehran had faced: wars, natural disasters, and the mysterious disappearances of some of their citizens. But he hadn't expected such openness. She nodded, her golden eyes flickering. "Everyone has their burdens. Some carry them silently, others let them speak. I carry mine in silence," she said, looking away. "It is easier that way." There was a long pause, and for a moment Liam wasn't sure what to say. He wanted to offer comfort, but he didn't know how. He wasn't used to talking about feelings, especially not to someone so different from him. But something about the alien woman made him want to try. He found himself stepping closer, not in a rushed way, but in a way that felt natural. "You don't have to carry it alone," he said quietly. "Sometimes talking about it can help." Her eyes flickered to him, and for a moment Liam thought he saw something vulnerable in her gaze. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but then she closed it again, as if uncertain. Before Liam could say anything else, the woman turned and began walking toward a nearby bench under a tree. She motioned for him to join her. "I think you should." "Sit," she said. "The answers you seek may not be found in the meetings or the words you've been taught." Liam followed her, his curiosity piqued. He sat beside her, careful not to intrude on her space, but close enough to engage in a conversation. The air around them was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the soft rustling of the leaves created a peaceful backdrop. They sat in silence for a few moments, both lost in their thoughts. Finally, the alien woman spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you believe in love, human?" she asked. The question caught Liam off guard. He wasn't prepared for it. He had expected small talk, perhaps questions about Earth or their mission. But not this. He thought for a moment, his heart beating a little faster. He wasn't sure how to answer. Love wasn't something he had given much thought to in recent years, especially not in the context of someone from another world. But something about her made him pause. I suppose I do," he said slowly, unsure of his own feelings. "But love isn't something you can always understand. Sometimes it's even hard to recognize." She turned to him, her golden eyes shining with curiosity. "What if love is something more than recognition?" she asked softly. "What if it is something that finds you? Something that you are not prepared for?" "Oh!" Liam swallowed, his heart racing a little faster. The woman's words hung in the air, as if they had more meaning than he could grasp. He felt something stir inside him, but he couldn't name it yet. Before he could respond, she stood up, her face suddenly more serious. "I must go. The day is still young, and there are duties to attend to," she said, her tone changing to one of finality. Liam stood up too, feeling a strange sense of loss. "I'll see you again, right?" he asked, hoping the answer would be yes. The alien woman smiled softly. "Perhaps," she said, "perhaps not." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Liam standing in the quiet garden, lost in thought. Words echoed in his mind. What if love finds you when you're not ready for it? Liam wasn't sure what to make of it, but one thing was clear. This meeting, this encounter, had changed something inside him. He couldn't explain it, but he knew that his journey on Terran had just taken an unexpected turn. The next few days on Terran felt different. Liam couldn't shake the encounter with the alien woman from his mind. Her golden eyes, her soft voice, and the way she had asked about love, it all lingered, making it hard to focus on his mission. Every time he closed his eyes, he could still see her standing by the pond. Her gaze filled with something deeper than curiosity. It wasn't long before he found himself walking toward the same garden again, drawn by an unspoken pull. He hadn't planned it, but something told him he needed to see her again. He didn't know if he was ready to confront the strange feelings he had. But he knew he couldn't ignore them either. Liam approached the garden quietly, as if afraid to disturb the peaceful air that surrounded it. He hesitated at the entrance, unsure if she would be there, but as he stepped inside, he spotted her near the pond once more. Her figure outlined against the setting sun looked as serene as ever, but there was a heaviness in the air that hadn't been there before. She turned as she heard him approach, her golden eyes locking with his. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them felt heavier now, as if the question she had asked him days ago was still hanging in the air, waiting for an answer. "I didn't expect to see you again," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. It wasn't cold or distant. It was simply uncertain. "I didn't expect to come back," Liam admitted, feeling the weight of his words. "But there's something about this place, and about you. I can't seem to get it out of my head." The alien woman tilted her head, her eyes studying him carefully. "You are a strange one, human," she said, the hint of a smile playing on her lips. "You are not like others from your world. They come and go, quick to forget." Liam didn't know how to respond to that. He wasn't sure if she was referring to him specifically, or just humans in general. Either way, it struck a chord within him. He had been quick to forget many things in his life: pain, loss, the things that truly mattered. But this was different. He knew this moment, this feeling, was something he couldn't simply push aside. "You're not like anyone I've ever met either," he said quietly. The words slipped out before he could stop them, and he was surprised by their honesty. He didn't want to hurt her, but he didn't want to hide his thoughts either. The alien woman looked at him, her eyes reflecting something deeper now, something vulnerable. She had been so guarded before, and yet here she was standing before him with no walls, no shields. She was giving him a glimpse into her soul, and it felt like a gift. "I suppose," she said, her voice soft but steady. "That is why I asked you the question I did." Liam's heart skipped a beat. He knew what she meant. He could feel it in the air between them. The question that had been left unanswered, the question that had been weighing on both of them, had to be addressed. "You asked if I loved you," Liam said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know how to answer. I still don't." Alien woman nodded, as if she had been expecting him to say that. She took a step closer, her eyes never leaving his. "I did not expect you to know right away," she said, "but I had to ask. I had to know." Liam felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He knew this moment was crucial, that it would change everything between them. He couldn't pretend to have the answer, not when his heart was so uncertain. "I think." Liam hesitated, unsure of how to put his feelings into words. "I think I care for you. More than I've cared for anyone in a long time. But love is different, isn't it? It's not something you can just decide on." The alien woman's gaze softened, and for the first time, she smiled. It wasn't the guarded smile she had given him before, but a genuine, warm expression. That made her appear even more beautiful. "I understand," she said. "Love is not something that can be forced. It grows or it doesn't. But we have something that could grow. And that is enough for now." Lift from his chest as her words sank in. He had feared that his honesty would push her away, but instead, it had brought them closer. There was no pressure to define their connection, no need to rush into something they weren't ready for. They could take their time, explore what they had, and see where it led. "I didn't mean to hurt you," Liam said, his voice filled with regret. I didn't want to give you false hope." The alien woman shook her head gently. "You have not hurt me. In fact, I am grateful for your honesty. It is something I do not often hear, especially from those who come to my world." Liam felt his heart race again, but not from fear this time. There was something in her words, in her eyes, that made him believe that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something he hadn't expected. They sat in silence for a few moments, letting the quiet settle between them. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden glow over the garden, making everything seem peaceful and perfect. For the first time since he arrived on Terran, Liam felt like he had found a place where he could truly be himself. No walls, no barriers, just two beings from different worlds, trying to understand each other. "I have to ask you something," Liam said after a long pause, his voice tentative. "How do you know when someone loves you? How do you feel it?" The alien woman looked at him, her golden eyes searching his face, as if weighing the question carefully. "Love is not something you can see with your eyes," she said softly. "It is something you feel with your heart. It's the way you care for someone, even when you don't have to. It is the way you long for their presence, the way their absence leaves a void inside you." Liam took a deep breath, his mind racing. He wasn't sure if he was ready to feel what she was describing, but he knew that something in him had already begun to change. He wasn't sure what the future held, but he was willing to find out as the sky turned darker and the stars began to twinkle above. Liam looked at the alien woman once more, his heart open and his mind clearer than before. "I don't know if I love you," he said quietly, "but I'm willing to find out." She smiled again, her eyes shining with something he couldn't quite name. "That is enough for now," she whispered, and for the first time, Liam felt that maybe, just maybe, that was all they needed. The days that followed were filled with moments of quiet reflection and growing curiosity. Liam spent more time on Tyran than he had initially planned. The alien woman, whose name he had yet to learn, had become the focus of his thoughts. Her eyes, the way she spoke, her calm but powerful presence, it all lingered in his mind like a melody he couldn't shake. They met a few times in the days that followed, but their conversations were no longer about formal diplomacy or business. Instead, they talked about their worlds, their lives, their dreams. The alien woman who had once seemed so distant now seemed more open, more willing to share pieces of herself with him. But something had shifted, something Liam couldn't quite understand. There was a new tension in the air, a distance that neither of them had spoken about, but both of them felt. It wasn't until the 6th day of his stay that Liam realized the full extent of this change. He was walking through one of the city's quiet alleys, a path that led to the garden where he had first met her. As he approached the entrance, he saw her standing there, waiting. But this time, her expression was different, closed, guarded. The warmth he had seen in her eyes was gone, replaced by something else he couldn't read. "Is everything okay?" Liam asked, taking a step toward her. His voice was soft, cautious, unsure if he was crossing a line. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she studied him, her gaze fixed on him as if weighing his every word, his every move. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice flat, almost cold. Liam felt a knot form in his stomach. The warmth they had shared in their conversations seemed to have vanished, replaced by a chilling silence. He opened his mouth to respond, but the words didn't come. What could he say? How could he explain why he had come back? Why he was drawn to her despite the growing tension? I came because I wanted to talk," he said finally, his voice quiet. "I thought we had something." The alien woman's eyes flickered with something: pain, confusion, maybe even frustration. She looked away, her gaze drifting too. The flowers nearby, the peaceful garden, which had once felt like a safe space, now felt distant, as if it belonged to another time. "You think we have something?" she repeated, her words heavy with meaning. "But do you really know what?" That means Liam took another step forward, his heart racing. "I care about you," he said, his voice steady, despite the turmoil inside him. "I told you that before, and I meant it. But I don't know what love is, not like you do." The alien woman turned to face him, her golden eyes narrowing. "You think you understand me?" she asked, her tone sharp. "You think that because we've shared a few conversations, because we've spent some time together, me?" Liam was taken aback by the sudden shift in her demeanor. She had always been so calm, so composed, but now there was an intensity in her voice, fire that Liam hadn't expected. "I'm not trying to say I understand everything," Liam said quickly, "but I know enough to know that you're not like anyone I've ever met. When I'm with you, I feel different." The alien woman shook her head, a bitter smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "You're not the only one who feels that way," she said. "But feelings aren't enough. Feelings don't change the fact that I am from a different world. I am not someone you can just love." Liam frowned, confused. "Why not? Why can't we be together? What's stopping us?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked away, her expression softening for a moment. Then, with a sigh, she turned back to face him. "You don't understand what it means to be me," she said softly. "You see my beauty, my strength, my ability to speak with you in your language, but you don't see the weight I carry. You don't see the people who depend on me, the responsibilities I bear. I am the leader of my people. I cannot afford to let my heart lead me." Liam's heart sank. He hadn't considered the full scope of her position, the burden she must carry as a leader of an entire world. He had been so focused on his own feelings, his own questions, that he had neglected to understand the challenges she faced. "I'm sorry," Liam said, his voice quiet. "I didn't realize." The alien woman met his gaze again, her eyes filled with something he couldn't name. "You couldn't have known," she said softly. "You're not from my world. You don't know what it's like to be responsible for the lives of so many, to have your every decision scrutinized, to carry the weight of an entire people's future." Liam felt a lump form in his throat. He could see now how different their worlds were, how much more complicated her life was compared to his. It thought they could simply connect, that their bond could be enough to bridge the gap between their two species. But the more he learned, the more he realized that love alone couldn't solve the problems they faced. "I wish I could help," Liam said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I wish I could make things easier for you." The alien woman smiled. Sadly, her eyes softening. "You already have," she said, taking a step toward him. "Your presence here, your willingness to listen, that's already more than I ever expected. But it's not enough. Not for what we are." Liam stood there, feeling helpless. He had never felt so small, so powerless in his life. All he wanted was to make her feel better, to take away her pain. But he knew now that he couldn't fix everything. Not with words, not with feelings. "I don't know what comes next," Liam said finally. "But I'm not leaving, I'll stay. I want to see this through. I don't know what that means, but I'm willing to find out." The alien woman's gaze softened again, her features more relaxed than before. "We're a strange human," she said, a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. "But I admire your determination." Liam smiled back, though his heart was still heavy. He didn't know where this path would lead, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't walk away. Not now, as the sun dipped lower behind the distant hills. The two of them stood together in the garden, the tension between them still thick but not as suffocating as before. There were no easy answers, no quick fixes. But in that moment, Liam felt a quiet sense of resolve. He was ready to face whatever came next, no matter how difficult it might be. The days following their conversation were strange, full of mixed emotions and uncertainty. Liam found himself more confused than ever. The warmth he had once felt in the alien woman's presence seemed to be slipping away, though they continued to meet. Something had shifted between them. Her earlier openness had turned into something guarded. She seemed to be retreating into herself, and Liam couldn't help but feel the distance growing wider with each passing day. It wasn't that she was cold or rude. No, the alien woman remained polite, even gentle, but the connection they had shared was fading. She would often give him short responses to his questions, her answers wrapped in layers of politeness, but they lacked the depth they once had. The conversations were no longer easy and flowing. Instead, they felt like a series of carefully placed words, designed to avoid anything too personal. Liam began to wonder if he had said the wrong thing. Perhaps she had expected him to understand her feelings more quickly, to declare his love for her without hesitation, but he couldn't bring himself to do that. He wasn't ready, and deep down, he knew that rushing into something as powerful as love would only make things more complicated. He found himself walking to the garden again, hoping for some clarity, hoping that he could find the answers he was searching for. The garden was quieter than usual, with only the gentle hum of the distant city and the rustling of leaves in the wind. As he entered, he spotted her near the pond, her back to him as she gazed at the water. For a moment, he just stood there watching her. She was beautiful, more than words could describe. But there was something in her posture, something in the way she held herself, that told him she was far from at ease. "Are you okay?" Liam asked, taking a cautious step forward. She didn't turn around immediately. Instead, she let out a long, slow breath before responding. "I am fine," she said, her voice calm but distant. "Why do you ask?" Liam frowned. "Because you don't seem fine," he said, his voice laced with concern. "You've been acting different? I can tell something's bothering you." The alien woman turned to face him, her golden eyes meeting his with a sharpness that surprised him. "I told you, I am fine," she repeated, her words more clipped than before. Liam took another step forward, not wanting to press her, but feeling like he had to understand. "I know you're not," he said softly. "I can feel it." "Oh, been avoiding me. You're keeping something from me. I thought we had something real between us." Her expression hardened, and she crossed her arms over her chest. "You think we have something real?" she asked, her voice quieter, but filled with tension. "Think because we shared a few moments, a few conversations, that you understand me? That you understand what I need?" Liam felt a pang in his chest. Her words stung more than he expected. "That's not what I meant," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "I don't pretend to understand everything, but I know I care about you. I just don't know how to make you see that." Alien woman's gaze softened for a brief moment, but then her eyes flickered with something darker. "Caring is not enough, Liam," she said, her voice low. "Caring is not enough to bridge the gap between us. It's not enough to overcome the differences in our worlds and our lives." Liam was silent for a long time, the weight of her words sinking in. He had known deep down that their worlds were different. But hearing her say it out loud made it feel more real, more impossible. What was he doing? He had never expected to fall for someone, let alone an alien, and now it seemed like that very thing might tear them apart. "I don't understand," Liam said, his voice filled with frustration. "I don't understand why we can't just be whatever this is. Why does it have to be so complicated?" The alien woman looked at him, her eyes searching his face, as if trying to find the right words to explain something that felt too big. "For either of them to understand? You think love is simple?" she said quietly. "You think it can be just about feeling good in someone's presence? But love, true love, is not easy. It is not just about passion or desire. It is about sacrifice, responsibility, and understanding that not everything is in your control." Liam looked at her, feeling more lost than ever. "I didn't think love was about control," he said, his voice almost pleading. "I thought it was about trust, about being there for each other." "And that's what makes you different from me," she said softly, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and acceptance. "You still believe in the dream, the idea that love can fix everything. But I can't afford that dream. I have a duty to my people, to my planet. I cannot be distracted by feelings, no matter how strong they are." Liam's heart sank, and he felt a wave of helplessness wash over him. He had never been good at dealing with his emotions, and now they seemed like a tangled mess he couldn't escape from. He reached out as if to touch her, to make her understand, but she stepped back, her expression unreadable. "I need space." "Liam," she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion, "I need to think. I need to understand what this is, before it pulls us both under." Liam nodded, though his chest ached with the weight of her words. He wanted to stay, to fight for what they had, but he knew that she needed time. He could see it in her eyes. There was too much she was holding back. Too much she couldn't say. "Okay," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'll give you space, but I'm not giving up on us. I'm not giving up on you." She didn't respond, but for the first time in days, Liam felt like there was a flicker of hope in her eyes. It was faint, but it was there. And for now, that was enough. As he turned to leave, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the garden in a soft golden light. Liam didn't know what the future held for them, but one thing was clear: this wasn't over. Not yet. There was still something between them, something worth fighting for. And for now, that was enough to keep him going. The next few days on Tyron passed in a quiet haze. Liam felt the weight of the alien woman's words pressing on him, but he also felt the distance between them growing. He had given her space, as she had asked. He had tried to keep his thoughts in check, but it was hard. Every moment he spent in her absence made him question what he truly wanted, what he was willing to fight for. The more he thought about her, the more he realized that she wasn't just a passing curiosity or a fleeting connection. She had become someone important, someone he couldn't easily forget. But as the days turned into a week, Liam began to wonder if the distance between them was more than just physical. He hadn't seen her much since their last conversation, and every time he tried to approach, she seemed to pull away. It wasn't as if she was being unkind. She simply remained distant, keeping her emotions hidden behind a wall she had built. Around herself, he decided to visit the garden once again, hoping that this time he could find the clarity they both needed. It had become a place of mixed emotions, for him both a sanctuary and a reminder of the complicated feelings he was trying to navigate. He didn't know what he would find when he arrived, but he knew he needed to try. He needed to see her again, to hear her voice, to understand where they stood. When he entered the garden, it was quiet. The usual gentle hum of the distant city had faded into the background. Leaving only the sounds of birds and the rustling leaves, he spotted her near. The pond, just like before, but this time there was something different in the air. She wasn't just standing there lost in thought. She seemed more focused, as if she had come to some kind of decision. She turned when she heard his footsteps. And for the first time in days, Liam saw a flicker of something real in her eyes, something more than the coldness and distance he had grown used to. It wasn't the warmth he had seen when they first met, but it wasn't the guarded expression either. It was something in between, a look that said she was ready to talk, ready to face whatever was between them. "Liam," she said softly, her voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of something more. "You've come back?" Liam nodded, taking a step closer. "I didn't know what else to do," he admitted. "I've been trying to give you space, like you asked, but I can't stop thinking about what you said. About us." The alien woman studied him for a long moment, her golden eyes searching his face. It felt like she was trying to gauge whether he was truly ready for whatever conversation was about to unfold. Finally, she took a deep breath and spoke again. "I've been thinking too," she said, her tone more open now. "About what you said, about what I've said. I've been running from it, afraid of what might happen if we go down this path. But the truth is, I've been running from myself too." Liam's heart raced, unsure of where this conversation was going, but willing to listen, willing to understand. "Running from yourself?" he asked softly, stepping closer, but still respecting her space. She nodded. "Yes. I've spent so much of my life being a leader, being strong for my people, that I forgot what it was like to be vulnerable, to feel human. I've kept my emotions locked away because that's what my role demands of me. But when you came into my life, everything changed. You made me feel things I didn't know I was capable of feeling." Liam's chest tightened. He had suspected that she carried a heavy burden, but hearing her admit it out loud was different. She wasn't just a leader, a figure of power. She was a person with her own fears and desires. Just like him. "You don't have to hide from me," Liam said, his voice sincere. "I don't expect you to be perfect. I don't expect you to have all the answers. I just want you to be you. Whatever that looks like." The alien woman's expression softened, and she took a step toward him. "That's the problem," she said quietly. "I don't know who I am when I'm not leading my people, when I'm not upholding the duties I've been given. I've never allowed myself to just be me." Liam could feel the weight of her words, the raw honesty that she was offering him, could see how much she was struggling, how much she wanted to be free from the expectations of her role. In that moment, he understood something. She wasn't pushing him away because she didn't care. She was pushing him away because she didn't know how to reconcile her duties with her feelings. "I get it," Liam said gently. "I don't have all the answers either. But I know that we don't have to figure everything out today. We don't have to know where this is going right now. We just need to be honest with each other and take things one step at a time." The alien woman looked at him, her golden eyes filled with a mixture of uncertainty and hope. For the first time in days, Liam saw a glimpse of the warmth he had been longing for. She wasn't completely closed off anymore. She was opening up, letting him in. "I don't know where this will lead either," she said, her voice softer now, almost vulnerable. "But I want to try. I want to see where this goes, even if it scares me." Liam reached out, taking her hand in his. It was a simple gesture, but it felt like everything in that moment. She didn't pull away. Instead, she squeezed his hand. Gently. A silent agreement that they were both ready to take that next step together. "I'm not going to run from this," Liam said, his voice steady. "I'm here. I want to see where this takes us to." For the first time since he had arrived on Tehran, Liam felt a sense of peace settle in his chest. The road ahead wasn't clear, and the future was still uncertain. But for the first time, they were facing it together, without fear, without holding back. As they stood there by the pond, the sun setting behind them, Liam realized that maybe love wasn't about knowing all the answers. Maybe it was just about being present, about taking one step at a time and trusting that the rest would follow. They didn't need to have it all figured out right now. They just needed to be honest, to take this journey together, and to see where it led. And for Liam, that was enough. The days after their conversation felt different, lighter in some ways, but still filled with uncertainty. Liam and the alien woman, whose name he had now learned was Lyra, had begun to spend more time together. They met in the garden whenever they could, talking, walking, and sometimes just sitting in silence, both trying to understand what had changed between them. They were still not sure where this journey would take them. But there was something in the way Lyra looked at him now that told him they were both ready to explore the possibility of what they could be. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was something real, something honest. Liam could see the change in her. The walls she had built around herself were beginning to crumble little by little. She was opening up, sharing more about her life, her responsibilities, and the heavy burden she had carried for so long. In return, Liam shared more about his own struggles and fears, things he had never spoken about before. For the first time, they were truly seeing each other, not as a human and an alien, not as a leader and a visitor, but as two people who cared for each other, even if they didn't fully understand why. One evening, as they walked through the quiet streets of Tyron's capital, Lyra stopped and turned to Liam. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, casting a soft glow on her face. For a moment, she just looked at him, her golden eyes filled with emotion. "I've been thinking," she said slowly, her voice soft but firm. "I know that we can't change the past. I can't change who I am or the responsibilities I have. But I think I've been hiding from the future too. I've been running from what could be, from you." Liam felt his heart race as she spoke. "Lyra, you don't have to. I do," she interrupted, her voice steady now. "I have to face the truth. I've been afraid of what might happen if I let myself feel, if I let myself love. But that's no way to live. I've been so focused on my duty that I've forgotten how to live for myself." Liam reached out, gently taking her hand in his. It felt natural, like it was meant to be. "You don't have to carry all of this alone," he said softly. "I'm here. But whatever. This is between us. I'm willing to take it one step at a time with you." Lyra's eyes softened, and for the first time Liam saw the full weight of her vulnerability. She had always been strong, but now she was letting him see her true self, someone who was willing to admit her fears, her doubts, and her hopes for the future. "I don't know what's going to happen," Lyra said quietly, "but I don't want to hide anymore. I don't want to be afraid." Liam smiled, squeezing her hand gently. "Neither do I." They stood there for a moment, just taking in the beauty of the moment, the quiet of the city around them, and the connection that had begun to form between them. It wasn't perfect, and they both knew it wouldn't be easy, but it was real. It was theirs. As the days passed, they continued to grow closer. The garden became their place of solace, a quiet sanctuary where they could talk freely without the weight of their duties pressing down on them. They spent long afternoons there discussing everything and nothing at all. Sometimes they would talk about their pasts, sometimes about their hopes for the future. Other times, they would simply sit in silence, letting the peaceful surroundings fill the space between them. Liam began to realize that the more he learned about Lyra, the more he admired her. She was strong, capable, and wise beyond her years. But she was also compassionate, kind, and willing to let herself be vulnerable when it mattered most. She wasn't the perfect leader, and that was what made her real. She was human in her own way, and that made him want to be with her even more. One afternoon, as they sat by the pond, Lyra turned to him with a thoughtful expression on her face. "Liam," she began, her voice soft but serious. "I know we've talked about our feelings, but I need to ask you something. Something that's been on my mind." Liam looked at her, sensing the weight of her words. "What is it?" She hesitated for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "I need to know that you're not just here because it's easy. I need to know that you're willing to face the challenges that come with being with me, with being with someone like me." Liam didn't have to think about his answer. He had known from the moment they first met that he was willing to face whatever came their way. There was no doubt in his mind. "I'm not here because it's easy," he said, his voice steady. "I'm here because I care about you, because I believe in what we have. Whatever challenges come, we'll face them together." Lyra's eyes softened, and a small smile tugged at her lips. For the first time in days, Liam saw the warmth he had been missing. It was a small smile, but it was a smile that spoke volumes. It spoke of trust, of understanding, and of the possibility of something beautiful growing between them. "I believe in you, Liam," she said quietly, "and I believe in us." Liam's heart soared at her words, and he reached out to take her, hand in his. "Then let's see where this takes us," he said, his voice filled with hope. One step at a time. As they stood together in the garden, the sun setting behind them, Liam felt a sense of peace that he hadn't felt in a long time. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time, he wasn't afraid of what it held. he wasn't afraid of what would come next, because he knew that as long as they faced it together, they could handle anything. And for the first time since he had arrived on Terran, Liam realized that he wasn't just living for the mission anymore. He was living for something much bigger, something real, something worth fighting for.